Okay, Year 5, and welcome to History Part 2. We're going to look at some of the things we really need in order to make a colony. So we're really investigating what are the pressures and influences on a colony. And pressure means things that make life hard, and influences mean things that affect life. So if you're going to start a new colony anywhere, the first thing you're going to need, the first thing is going to be water. Any established settlement needs to be located near established, reliable water sources, especially in a dry continent such as Australia. So Botany Bay, actually, that's that big area you might drive by as you head towards or away from the airport, just near Rockdale there, or Brighton Les Sands. Botany Bay was actually rejected as it had no reliable water sources, and that's why instead we went to Port Jackson, and that's why instead our biggest area is where we've got the Harbour Bridge, because it had reliable water sources. So write down this. Thank you. Next is, of course, food. Food is a pressure on a new colony, and a colony, whether it's in Botany Bay or Mars, as you might notice, we're actually trying to establish a colony on Mars, needs a reliable, which means regular and easy to get, supply of quality food. So if there's poor soils, and by the way, at Botany Bay there were poor soils, it was sandy and nobody could grow anything at Botany Bay. Irregular rainfall, which means low and not consistent rainfall, and strange seasons compared to the motherland. Remember, they had actually come from England. They had come from England and had gone to Australia. And so when we are talking about the motherland, we're talking about England, which has got the exact reverse seasons as Australia. So strange seasons, all back to front due to the location in the southern hemisphere. And when we talk about the southern hemisphere, we're talking about the top of the earth versus the bottom of the earth. Okay, Australia is in the southern hemisphere down here. Down here is Australia, and England is in the northern hemisphere. So these seasons are going to be reversed. Summer equals winter. Okay, and poor farming techniques. I mean, there was a bunch of sailors and convicts. Convicts were not farmers, meant low productivity. So they really had a hard time growing their own food. Thank you. So I do want you to write that down as well. Certainly last but not least is cost. Yes, money is an issue. It is also a pressure and an influence. So colonies, any colony needs to become self-sufficient as quickly as possible in order to become an asset, which means a strength or a growth or a good thing rather than a liability on the government purse. When we talk about the government purse, we really mean the money that the government owns or has or generates. So of course you've got England, don't you, which was more or less paying for the establishment of Australia, paying for Australia. And what the goal of the colony was that Australia would be able to support itself instead of England kept on sending over all this food, all this fresh water, or and the rest of it. So the goal is for Australia to be able to support itself, which it eventually did, but it took quite a long time to do so. So the new settlers needed to develop, and any new settlers need to develop an income stream, and they started to do this from the exploitation or the using. Another word for exploitation is using of natural resources such as timber and coal, and you can turn this sort of material into money. Or of course, new settlers could trade in agricultural products such as wool and tallow, and they could actually send this sort of material, wool and tallow, back to England for money in order to pay for more things from England. Okay, so there's the three things I really want you to be aware of. Thank you. The first was, of course, food. The second was, of course, water. And the third was cost. So you've completed this. You should have written everything I explained there. Now what I want you to do is select one of the pressures we have discussed and draw a picture of how it might be solved. Thank you very much.